Afghanistan has been witnessing spate of attacks in the past few weeks. Scores of Afghan civilians have been killed in bomb blasts, some of which have been claimed by the Islamic State. On June 12th, another terror attack strikes the country, this time in a mine blast in Asadabad city, which lies in the center of the Kunar province. An explosion took place on a Taliban range of vehicles. One Taliban member has been killed and 6 others injured. A report. Bombings have increased recently in Afghanistan as the Taliban marks almost a year since seizing power in August 2021. Recently, on June 12, in Asadabad city of Kunar province, a massive explosion detonated a mine planted in a vehicle of Taliban forces. A Taliban member was killed and 6 others, including a civilian, were injured in the blast. The explosion was said to have targeted a former Ranger Security Forces vehicle, which is now in the hands of the Taliban. No group or individual has taken responsibility for the attack. Meanwhile, a bomb exploded on a minibus in the Afghan capital. This incident also resulted in the killing of 4 people while injuring several others.
Of course, the Taliban will claim that, the country will be more secure when they take over. But logically, I think all of us knew that this wasn't possible. When you've got fundamentally a disaggregated guerrilla warfare organization with several factions, heavily armed and much more armed since their last stint in power, it was only very obvious that, they could never bring stability. Afghanistan is destroyed as a society. This is what 30-40 years of constant warfare are going to do to you. A heavily armed, heavily disunited society with a essentially guerrilla warriors at the top is never going to be a stable one, and this is going to continue. This is the new normal. I think everybody should get used to it.
The war-torn country has witnessed a series of terror attacks staged by the Islamic State group in the last few weeks. Just before Eid, a powerful explosion killed more than 50 worshippers at a mosque located in the west of Kabul. Attacks against civilians targeting ethnic and religious minorities represent a disturbing trend in Afghanistan. The Taliban claim they have secured the country since taking power in August and largely eliminated the Islamic State's local offshoot. But international officials say the risk of resurgence in terrorism remains in Afghanistan. Many analysts believe these attacks are the result of the irresponsible withdrawal of US troops last year, which promised to restore peace for the Afghan people.
The withdrawal of the US is only partially responsible for this, you see. The root cause starts off much earlier, from the Afghan jihad against the Soviets, the way it was fought, the arming of society in general, the radicalization of society because of this instilling this caliber of jihad, layered on top of the fact that Afghan society was almost always a very unurban pastoral society which was always prone to violence. This violence is not new. What's new to it is you've essentially taken a feudal system, taught them very modern guerrilla tactics, armed them with very modern weapons like shoulder-fired weapons which are causing havoc to Russian troops in Ukraine, both anti-aircraft and anti-tank. This was bound to happen. So, I won't say the American withdrawal is the root cause. It's just one in a long string of disappointments. The roots go back much, much earlier.
On one hand, Afghanistan faces an endless threat of terrorism. On the other hand, the country finds itself gripped by the severe restrictions imposed by the Taliban. The hardliners deprived millions of Afghan women of their rights to education, ousted tens of thousands of women from jobs, and banned women's business and all sorts of activism. Today, they have crushed the women of Afghanistan and have plunged them into dark ages again. The Afghan woman has now lost even the right to life. Not only are women in Afghanistan suffering, but more than 90% of Afghans have been facing a shortage of food. For them, their next meal is a matter of fate. People in Afghanistan had dreamt of peace and an end to conflicts to improve their situation, but not at the cost of losing the last 20 years of achievements. It seems that forever war in Afghanistan is nowhere near its end.